Okay, so I want you to take a breath before we even begin, because the energy coming in right now is dense. It's not heavy in a bad way, it's heavy the way the air gets before a storm finally breaks. There's something suspended in between you and this person. Something unspoken. And I think if you're here, if you clicked on this video, it's because some part of you already knows that the silence isn't empty. It's full. It's full of something they haven't figured out how to say yet. So let's just sit with that for a second before we pull these cards. I'm already picking up on a lot of you who've been in a state of waiting. Checking your phone. Replaying conversations. Wondering if you said something wrong, wondering if they've moved on, wondering if what you felt between you two was even real. And what I want to say to you right now, before we even get into the reading, is that the fact that you're questioning it doesn't mean it wasn't real. Sometimes the most real things are the ones that leave us the most confused. This is a collective reading, so take what resonates and leave what doesn't. Not everything will apply to every single person watching, but I trust that if you're here, there's something in this reading that your higher self wanted you to hear today. Let's get into the cards. The first card that came out, and honestly it came out with a lot of force, like it was waiting, is the inner voice. Now, when I look at this card, the first thing I feel is this deep, almost painful sense of someone trying to hear themselves think. And I don't mean that literally, I mean energetically. This card is speaking to a person who has been so surrounded by noise, by expectation, by the opinions and needs of other people, that they've completely lost touch with their own inner compass. And I feel like that person is not you, the viewer. I feel like that person is them. Your person. There's something about this card that suggests someone who has been performing a version of themselves for a very long time. Not because they're dishonest, but because they learned early on that the full version of themselves, the vulnerable, uncertain, emotionally complex version, wasn't always safe to show. So they tucked it away. They kept moving. They kept showing up in the ways they knew how to show up. But right now, something is cracking. Something in them is getting louder. I keep hearing the phrase, "I don't know who I am right now," coming through for this person. And I know that might sound alarming if you're on the receiving end of their silence, but I want you to understand, this is not about you. The silence, the distance, the pulling away, it is coming from a place inside of them that has nothing to do with your worth or your desirability. They are in the middle of a reckoning with themselves. The inner voice card asks, what do you hear when everything else goes quiet? And for your person, when everything goes quiet, they're hearing things they've been avoiding for a long time. They're hearing truth. And truth, when it's been suppressed for a while, does not arrive gently. Now we move to the second card, and this one stopped me in my tracks, the Sacred Fire. Okay. So here's where this gets really interesting. The Sacred Fire, when it appears in a reading like this, about someone you're connected to, someone whose silence is confusing you, it almost always speaks to passion. But not the kind of passion that's comfortable or easy to hold. This is the kind of passion that burns. The kind that, if you ignore it, doesn't go out, it just starts consuming things you didn't mean to lose. I believe your person has deep, deep feelings. And I don't just mean for you, though I do believe those feelings are real. I mean they have a fire inside them that they've been managing, controlling, keeping in check. Maybe they were taught that being too emotional was weakness. Maybe they've been hurt before and decided it was safer to keep the fire low, keep it manageable, keep it from spreading to places it could cause damage. But here's the thing about fire, you can control it for a while. You can build walls around it. You can ration the oxygen it receives. But at some point, and that point is now, it demands to be acknowledged. It demands space. It demands to be felt. What I sense from this combination, the inner voice and the sacred fire together, is someone who is becoming aware that they've been living in a way that isn't honest to who they actually are at their core. And that awareness is disorienting. It doesn't feel like freedom yet. Right now it feels like standing in the middle of a fire you set yourself, not knowing where to walk. Can I be honest with you? I think your person is afraid of their own feelings. Not because the feelings are bad, but because they're big. And when someone who has spent years managing their emotional world suddenly comes face to face with feelings this big, this real, this undeniable, the first instinct is often not to reach out. The first instinct is to go quiet. To go inside. To try to understand what's happening before they say something they can't take back, or open a door they're not sure they're ready to walk through. That silence you're sitting with? That's the sound of someone standing in front of a fire, deciding whether to let it burn. And if there were any doubt before, this card erases it. Something is shifting. Something in this connection, in this person's internal world, has reached a moment that cannot be undone, cannot be backed away from. We have arrived at a fork in the road, and the energy around this card tells me that your person knows it too. The turning point doesn't always look dramatic from the outside. In fact, most of the time it doesn't. Most of the time, the most significant moments of transformation in a person's life happen in total silence, in the middle of the night, staring at the ceiling, or sitting in a car in a parking lot before going inside somewhere, or standing in the shower letting the water run cold because they were so lost in thought they didn't notice the time passing. This is one of those moments for them. I want to paint you a picture of what I'm seeing energetically. I see someone who has been moving in a particular direction. Maybe it's a direction they chose for practical reasons, or out of fear, or because it's what was expected of them. And for a while, they were able to keep moving in that direction without too much friction. But something, and I think part of that something is their connection to you, has started to make that path feel less sustainable. Less true. I don't want to put too much of a specific story onto this because this is collective, and some of you are in very different situations. But what I can say universally is this: your person is at a crossroads. They are weighing things. They are looking at their life and asking whether the choices they've made, the way they've been showing up, the person they've been presenting to the world, whether any of it truly reflects what they want, what they feel, who they are. And that process? It takes time. It takes a silence that might feel unbearable from the outside. Here's the message I want to give you for this card: the turning point is not a red flag. It is not evidence that they've chosen to let you go. What it tells me is that they are choosing, actively choosing, to stop moving through life on autopilot. And whatever comes next for them, for you, for this connection, it will come from a place of greater authenticity than anything that's happened before. Doesn't that give you at least a little peace? Now we come to card 4, and I'll be honest with you, this one isn't the easiest card to receive, but it is one of the most important. Bitter medicine. This card is exactly what it sounds like. It's the truth that heals, but not without some pain. It's the conversation you've been avoiding, the realization that hurts on the way in but saves you on the other side. And I feel this card speaking to both of you, actually, not just your person, but you as well. For your person, the bitter medicine is the acknowledgement that something needs to change. And depending on who this is for you, that change might look different. For some of you, this person is sitting with a truth about a choice they made. Maybe they pushed you away, maybe they kept things surface level when they should have gone deeper, maybe they let fear make decisions that their heart wouldn't have made. And the medicine for them is facing that. Owning it. Not hiding behind silence forever, but eventually stepping into the discomfort of honesty. I also feel this card carrying a specific kind of emotional weight for your person around regret. There's something they wish they had done differently. Something they said, or didn't say. Something they let pass. And they're sitting with that. Digesting it. Working through whether it's too late or whether there's still a door they can open. Now for you, and I want to speak to you directly for a moment. The bitter medicine might be the reminder that you cannot control this process. You cannot speed it up. You cannot love someone into their readiness. And that's hard. That's genuinely hard, especially when you care about someone and you can see them struggling, when you feel the connection so strongly and all you want to do is reach across the distance and make it easier for them. But sometimes the most loving thing we can do is hold steady. Stay rooted. Trust the process without trying to manage it. The medicine is bitter. But it works. There's also something coming through, a channeled thought, if you will, and it sounds like this: the part of me that pulls away is not the part of me that loves you less. It's the part of me that is terrified of how much I do. I don't know if that lands for you. But I felt it strongly enough that I needed to say it. We're moving now into card 5, the future vision, and I want you to feel the shift in energy here, because it is tangible. We have moved through the disorientation of the inner voice, through the consuming heat of the sacred fire, through the gravity of the turning point, and through the necessary pain of bitter medicine. And now, we are arriving somewhere that feels different. Something lighter is on the horizon. The future vision speaks to clarity coming. Not just for you, but for them. And when I say clarity, I mean the kind that comes after you've sat long enough in the uncertainty that it finally releases you. The kind that comes when someone stops fighting with themselves and starts listening. What I'm seeing for your person in this card is a moment, and it is coming. The timeline on this feels relatively close, though I never want to give false certainty around time, where something inside them settles. Where the internal storm quiets enough that they can see what they actually want. Where the noise and the fear and the doubt fall away and what remains is something clear and honest and undeniable. And what I believe remains, for many of you watching this, is feelings for you that they have not yet fully expressed. Now, I want to be careful here, because I'm not going to promise you a particular outcome, and I'm not going to tell you that every single person watching this video is going to receive a grand declaration of love in the next 2 weeks. That's not how this works, and it wouldn't serve you for me to say that. What I can tell you is that the future vision, in the context of this reading, suggests that the emotional shift your person is going through is moving them towards something. Not away from it. The silence is not the end of the story. It is the space in which the next chapter is being written. I also want to say something about you and your vision, because this card doesn't only speak to them. What future are you holding in your mind? What are you hoping for? And here's the deeper question: are you hoping for it from a place of love and genuine desire, or are you hoping for it from a place of anxiety and fear? Because the energy you're holding while you wait matters. It genuinely matters. Not in a manifestation buzzword way, but in the very real, very human sense that when you ground yourself in a vision that comes from wholeness rather than desperation, you show up differently. You feel different. And people feel that. So let the future vision speak to you too. What do you want? And can you hold that with open hands? And then we arrive at the final card, and it is perhaps the most powerful of all: the mask falls. I genuinely felt something when this card appeared. Something in my chest, actually. Because this card, in this position, after everything that's come before it, it is a revelation card. It is the card of things finally coming to light. Of the performance ending. Of the carefully constructed version of a person stepping aside so that the real one can finally walk forward. The mask falls. I want you to think about what that means for your person. They have been wearing something, a mask of indifference, maybe. Or a mask of being fine, of having it together, of not needing anything from anyone. Or a mask of certainty when inside they've been full of doubt. The specific mask matters less than the fact that it has been there. And this card, appearing at the end of this reading, tells me that it is coming down. This is the card of vulnerability. Of real, unguarded, can't take it back vulnerability. And for someone who has kept their inner world as tightly controlled as the person I've been reading for throughout this spread, that is enormous. That is not a small thing. The courage required to let someone see behind the carefully built exterior, to say, this is who I actually am, this is what I actually feel, this is what I've actually been carrying, that is some of the bravest work a human being can do. I keep seeing this as a moment of confession. Not in a shameful way, in a relieving way. A moment where they finally say what's been building. Where the silence breaks not because it was forced to but because they chose to let it break. Because they became ready. And here's what I find so beautiful about this card landing at the end of this particular sequence, the inner voice got louder. The sacred fire couldn't be contained anymore. The turning point made denial impossible. Bitter medicine began the healing. The future vision gave them something to walk toward. And then, the mask falls. It is the natural conclusion of everything that came before it. This is not someone abandoning you. This is someone becoming ready to be seen. I want to take a moment before we close and just speak to the whole of what I've witnessed in this reading, because I think there's something important to name. There's a particular kind of loneliness that comes with being on the receiving end of someone else's inner transformation. You can feel the connection. You can feel that something is there, something real, something worth paying attention to. But they're not talking. They're not showing up in the ways you've been waiting for. And from the outside, it can look a lot like being forgotten, or deprioritized, or simply not cared for. And I want to look you in the eye, metaphorically, through this screen, and tell you that what you are experiencing is not abandonment. What you are sitting in is the waiting room of someone else's becoming. And that is genuinely one of the hardest places to be. I don't want to minimize that. The uncertainty is real. The longing is real. The fear that you're reading meaning into nothing, that's real too. But these cards don't show someone who has moved on. These cards show someone in the middle of a profound, disorienting, absolutely necessary inner journey. And the fact that this journey is happening, the fact that the fire is burning, that the voice is getting louder, that the mask is preparing to fall, that is not bad news for you. That is the prelude to something honest. There's one more thing I want to say, because it came through strongly throughout this reading and I kept holding it back for the right moment, and I think this is the right moment. You have your own inner voice too. And it has been trying to tell you something throughout all of this. Not just about them, not just about this connection, but about yourself. About what you deserve. About the kind of love that you're worthy of and the kind of peace that you have every right to seek. This reading isn't just a message for you about them. It's also an invitation for you to ask, am I waiting in a way that's healthy? Am I tending to my own sacred fire while this other person finds their way? Am I wearing my own mask, a mask of patience, of nonchalance, of I'm totally fine waiting indefinitely, that maybe also needs to fall? Because the most powerful version of this story isn't one where they come back and you've been holding your breath the entire time. The most powerful version is one where they find their way back to themselves, and so do you. Simultaneously. Separately. In your own ways. And then two whole, honest, unmasked people have the chance to actually see each other. That's the reading. As we close, I just want to leave you with this. Trust the silence. Not because it's comfortable, it isn't, but because silence is sometimes where the most important work happens. The work that can't be done out loud, in public, in the presence of an audience. The work of becoming. The work of deciding who you are and what you want and whether you're brave enough to live in alignment with that truth. Your person is doing that work. And the fact that they are doing it, even if it's messy, even if it's taken longer than you wanted, even if it's left you in a kind of limbo that has been hard to carry, it means that what eventually comes from them will be real. It won't be performance. It won't be the managed, careful, masked version of themselves. It will be them. And you deserve that. You deserve the real version. You deserve the unguarded, unmasked, fire still burning truth of someone who has done the work to actually know themselves. So while you wait, and I know the waiting is hard, tend to yourself. Water your own garden. Come back to your own inner voice. Trust that the intuition that brought you to this video, that has been whispering to you about this connection, is not leading you wrong. Your instincts are not broken. Your feelings are not fabricated. Something real is happening. Something is shifting. And on the other side of all of this beautiful, difficult, necessary change, there is clarity. There is honesty. There is the kind of love that only becomes possible when two people are no longer hiding from themselves. Take what resonated. Leave what didn't. And know that whatever unfolds, you are going to be okay. Actually okay, not just pretending to be okay, but grounded, guided, held by the universe okay. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you in the next one.